Hey everybody, it's Andre from the Eaglesoft Field Guide, and I'm here with Passion. Passion is a member of the Eaglesoft Field Guide too. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And you are in Wisconsin, right?
I am. I am in Madison, Wisconsin. I
Cool.
am
And
the off. Oh, go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
going to say, tell me about the office. Yeah.
Oh, I am the office manager for Hilldale Dental, the office of Dr. Fred Yeager, here in Madison. And we are currently dealing with the pandemic, but we're all going to get through it together.
And your back to work order starts as of now. You're ready to go back to work?
Correct. Yep. The state of Wisconsin, from my understanding, we have it based off of um, when the practices are ready to reopen. So we do have some practices that are reopened right now, going full blown at it, and some are still um, kind of like us, just waiting to kind of see what happens. We're waiting for the ban to be lifted. Granted, the state of Wisconsin did lift their ban. However, in the county that we're residing in, Dane County, our ban is still there, is still in place. So we're
Yeah.
just waiting for the ban to be fully lifted before we go back.
And Madison's more of a populous area anyway. So
Correct.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's funny because where I am, I'm near Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is kind of a hub for New York City and Washington D.C. So, it's going to be a while for us. I have a feeling we're going to be June 1st at the minimum before dental offices get back to work. So, everybody's going through this a little differently, but I'm glad we're going to spend some time together. And as bad as this crisis has been, it's also been a great opportunity for offices to get back to some of the basics to learning how to do this. And you've used Eaglesoft in the past and now using it at this office. And kind of what we want to focus on is the schedule. But, if everybody knows me, I kind of go off on tangents whenever I talk about things. So let's talk about scheduling. And what did you guys do with your schedule? Did you reschedule people? Did you leave them in the schedule? What did you guys do?
So what we did was, although a lot of dental offices were closed, I still came in every day, limited hours. However, I came in every day and I rescheduled a lot of our patients.
Mhm.
So there was always someone here in the office to answer the phones, answering patients' questions, concerns, rescheduling. So I was here every day, Monday through Thursday, for about 5 to 6 hours a day, calling patients and rescheduling. So that kind of helped us out a little bit, because I know a lot of dental offices, when they close, they just completely close.
All right.
And so now they're playing catch up with calling patients and trying to find a time to get them in.
Mhm.
I kind of went a little the opposite. I came in, I called, I rescheduled. There are some patients that I had to call multiple times because our say for a home order was extended longer than we had anticipated.
Sure.
But we are trying to get patients in as quickly as possible.
Cool. So one of the things we want to look at is, and what I'm doing is I set this up in kind of three sessions. So we started with basics, which we can go back through basics, and then we're going to talk about rescheduling patients, and we're going to talk about templates and some other stuff. So let me go down here and share my screen, and let's open up Eaglesoft. And let's look at a few things here. And I always tell people, my screen is always been modified because I'm showing people every day how Eaglesoft works. So my screen is pretty modified. So you have just one doctor in your office, right?
Correct. I have one doctor and he has two chairs, and
Two
then I
chairs.
have one hygienist.
Okay. One hygienist. Perfect.
Mhm.
So you have three columns on your schedule?
Correct.
Three columns. Okay. So, and what I always show people is I have multiple views on my schedule. So if you look at the little sunglass thing, those are the views of my schedule. So I have a full
Mhm.
view, which I can see everything. And then I have a single doctor view. So your schedule kind of looks probably like that.
Correct. Well, actually, I have four columns. I
Four
have an
columns.
extra hygiene column just as an overflow in case.
Gotcha. I
But
love it.
yes.
All right. So the beauty of that is and this is my thing, and I'm looking at this. I'm looking at my schedule now on a big 32-inch monitor because I'm old and I like big giant monitors. So, but I actually had on my desktop in my office, I had two. Now this was back in the day, so I had two 19-inch monitors all the time. Now I have two 32-inch monitors that sit on my desk. So I always have my schedule on one, and I have the account screen on the other screen. So, but as I kind of work through my schedule, and I'm going to go back to my full view because I don't know where I have people sitting on my schedule, but I'm going to go back to March 6th, where I know I have patients scheduled, and kind of look at some of the things that we have on the schedule, and some of the things that how we utilize the schedule. Um, and you were rescheduling people every day, so you were moving people, or were you deleting them and going through that whole process, or were you just moving them?
I was just moving them. So I'll right click, hit move appointment, find the appointment date, and then I'll just paste it from the appointment
Awesome.
list.
All right. So, and that's good because one of the things that we were talking about through this crisis is if people were deleting the appointment, they had to make a choice. Was this a failed, cancel, or neither?
Hmm.
And the problem with that is it's going to rack up in the patient's record that they failed this appointment or that they rescheduled the appointment. But really, this should be one of the perfect examples of what a neither appointment looked like, which is where the office had to move somebody.
Okay.
It's COVID-19's fault, but really we were the people who actually moved the appointment. So, but those things do, and I'm going to open up a patient just so everybody knows what I'm talking about. Hopefully everybody knows this, but within every patient preference, at the bottom of this, it shows how many appointments the patient has failed, how many appointments the patient has canceled, and how many appointments that the office rescheduled. And that's where I consider a neither. So in theory, if we scheduled Dan Senior, but it should have been Dan Junior, and we messed up and we had to take Dan Senior back out of the schedule, that was neither a failed appointment or a canceled appointment. That was a neither appointment. That was one that we kind of put in there. So, but just so everybody knows, the system is tracking how those things happen, the failed and canceled. The one thing I always discourage offices from doing is charging people, and this has nothing to do with COVID, but has to do with just the day-to-day. If you go into the account and you actually are walking out a broken appointment, a couple things that happen when you do that. And I don't even think that I actually have a code for broken appointment because I don't really use it. But if I actually walk out a procedure code for a broken appointment, let's see if this will let me do it. Close that. D99. And I don't even know what the codes are for broken appointments because I don't use them. But if you actually are missed appointment, if I put this in here and I actually charge the patient for a missed appointment using this method, a couple things going to happen. It's going to close out the appointment that he has scheduled for the day. It's going to put a fee in there if you charge for that fee, or a zero in there, but it's going to say that the patient was here today, because how could somebody not be here and have a service posted for them? So if you actually post a service on this day, it's going to say they were here today, had this service. Obviously, the service is just a missed appointment, but it's going to show that the last time that they were in the office was today because they had a service today. So it actually changes a whole lot of things by actually posting a missed appointment charge. So I always try to discourage people from doing this and doing it the way you do, which was, like I said, right click, delete the appointment, all right, and choosing this, or just picking them up and moving them to another day, or like you said, right click and move, which is the right way to do that. So yeah, I have a feeling a lot of people their data is going to be really screwed up based on COVID-19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go off track a little bit here.
Oh, that's what I want you to do.
So when you're talking about, when you mentioned the whole not charging out the whole missed appointment code because it shows that they had a procedure done and they were here, it's gonna mess up their recall or last visit date. I get that.
Yeah.
If we were to charge a patient, how would you enter that in? Would you just enter it in as an adjustment?
So if somebody actually failed an appointment and you wanted to charge them, then we're right clicking, deleting the appointment, and right here we're going to apply a cancellation fee.
Oh, okay.
All right. So this does, and you got it right, as this is adding an adjustment but this adjustment does not show as a service. It shows as an adjustment, and it doesn't show as a, a patient being in the office having something done. This is just an administrative function. And that that cancellation fee, I'm going to go over to my front desk, comes from our preferences. It's actually set up in the preferences where the cancellation fee is going to be. So right here, if by default, I always wanted to charge people that. And you can actually have a failed appointment fee adjustment type, exactly what you said, and say, you charge $100 for a failed appointment fee. So if you're going to, if you're going to apply a cancellation fee, you can preset that with the appointment type that you want and put the amount that you typically charge for a failed appointment. And then on cancellation, you can automatically apply that. So that's how it would be set up. And then that way, what's happening is the patient's being, you're going to show that it was failed. You're going to create an account note. You're going to create a fee. And if you want it to, you can put it in the quick fill or not. But that's the proper way to add the cancellation fee in Eaglesoft. Even though the ADA gives us a cancellation code, this is the right way to post the cancellation fee in the account without showing it as a interaction like the patient's visit. And like you said, it could mess up the recall date if you were using something like, if you're running a report of patients seen in May of 2020, that patient would show up on that report because they were here to have a failed appointment,
Right.
So,
okay.
Yep. But that's the perfect way to do it. Good question. That wasn't off topic. That was a good question. Yeah, that was right on par. Yeah. So just so you know, that people who are looking at last visit dates when you're looking at Eaglesoft, and I always tell people about the PAR report, so the patient analysis report. If I look at this report and imagine, God forbid that your doctor no longer could see patients. And I had this happen where I had a doctor who was no longer able to see patients again. He actually cut his thumb off. He was no longer able to see patients again. And he had to cancel all the patients who were scheduled, for him until they found somebody to take over his restorative responsibilities. Well, everybody was charged out a line item. And it wasn't a broken appointment fee, but they made up a code for patients canceled for, whatever they put into their system. But everybody showed up as patients being seen in the last 12 months because they charged them out this code.
Oh.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't realize the implications of adding like service codes. Even if somebody, imagine if I came into your office and I said, I'm not a patient in your practice, but could I buy a toothbrush? And you charged me out for a toothbrush, it would say I was seen today. Mm-hmm. So patients seen in the last 12 months would automatically show there if you're charging out a service. Even though that patient's not an active patient, you're charging out a service, they're going to show up on your report. Okay. So just so everybody knows, it's when you're fooling the system by adding service codes, you could be also doing something to your system where you're messing up last recall dates and showing, the active, your inactive and active patients differently. So just be aware. So now, do you utilize all the, when you see your schedule, do you look at your schedules by procedures or do you look at it by providers? Do you know?
By procedures.
Okay. So yours kind of looks like, you may have different colors, but yours kind of looks like mine and you said you have columns for your doctors and a column for your, 2 columns for the hygienist, but
correct.
So yeah. And like I said, I love this format because in this format, I can see immediately, like Dr. Gray only works till 1:00 today. And that's an easy way to be able to see my schedule. So I can look at the schedule, see where I have hygiene, see where I have doctors coming in, and it makes it easier for the flow of things. Now, one of the things that I always like looking at, and let's go to today. So again, with the way things are changing with the schedule, imagine if we now get another stay-at-home order, where there's some states where the disease is spiking and the governors say, okay, we're going to shut down again, God forbid. So one of the things that you can do is on your schedule, a lot of people are putting blocks in their schedule. So I'm going to actually highlight that, and I'm going to create a block in my schedule. And people are going to put something like closed into the schedule. All right. Now, that's what I see a lot of times in offices, and it seems to make sense, but that's not the proper way to close a chair. So, imagine a hygienist says, we're back to work, but I still have to take care of my kids, so I can't work on Tuesdays. So instead of actually going in here and putting these blocks into the schedule for the hygienist, because the only thing that's going to do is it kind of just covers up the day, but it's still there. What you should be doing is actually right-clicking on the hygienist chair and saying, close the chair. And that actually closes the chair, but also takes the production out of the day and takes her out of the schedule, and it actually closes the chair. If you're actually closing the entire day, then you choose close day, and it actually closes the entire day down. So this is a good way if the office is going to do like, oh, we're going to do CPR training today, or we have to go take a CE course. Instead of actually putting blocks in the schedule, if you just close the chair or close the day, it makes a big difference.
So if you close the day, is it going to close like the whole schedule?
It closes
including
all of
the
the
doctors?
Chairs. Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
So you can pick a chair or a day and close it down.
Oh, okay. So let's say like our office, we're not open on Fridays, but we're going to be open a couple Fridays coming up here in June and July. How do I open up the schedule, but not for like the full day?
Okay.
Let's say we're working from 8 to 1.
Yeah. So the best way to do something like that, so if it's going to be a every other kind of thing, or some sort of like the fourth Friday of the month or something like that, the best way to do that is in your normal schedule, you're closed. And we would do custom hours, and let's do that. So I'm going to go over here to my list, and I'm going to go to my providers and staff, and I'm going to go to my primary doctor, Dr. Gray, and I'm going to go to hours, and I'm going to go to custom hours, and let's say new, and I always give it a name. Sundays, this is the only day that we're not open on here. So Sundays in the summer. All right. I know nobody's going to ever do this. All right. So let's say between Memorial Day and I don't know when Labor Day is, but I'm just going to make that July, August, September. I don't know when Labor Day is. Let's just say it's the 7th. All right. That we're actually going to be weekly on Sundays, open at 8 and closed at 1. All right. And actually, I'm going to do this even more. I'm going to say 1 or more days. So this is actually going to give me a calendar. So this is actually the quickest, easiest way to do it. So 1 or more days. All right. And from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. with no lunch in all chairs. And I'm going to hit this schedule here. Hold on, let's see, multiple days. I'm going to hit this schedule here. And now it's actually going to pull up a calendar. And this is a great thing because now I can just pick and choose. I've got this Sunday and that Sunday and that Sunday. So I can actually go through and just pick the ones I want. Hit OK. And you can see it shows me the ones that I'm going to do. And now it's only going to apply for Sundays in the summer, for these Sundays, and for these chairs. And because it's all hands on deck. Everybody's going to work. So I can actually set up a very specific 1 or more days, picking the days I want, picking the hours I want, and only open up, like you said, the Fridays that you want. So it's great because I always, just kind of take a calendar. And I just take that calendar and duplicate it in my system when it's kind of a one-off kind of setup like that. So you can see June 14th, July 5th, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to save that and just show you what it looks like. Close all that. And on my schedule, June. So there's June 14th on a Sunday. and you can see I'm open.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So that's what, like custom hours, it's kind of the only time I use custom hours because, to say if you're going to, you're going to have custom hours and it's just, you're putting in a vacation day or something like that. It's easier for a vacation day to just right click and close the day through that week of vacation or whatever you guys are closed. Instead of having to go through like what we did is making all these custom hours, I could just go there here and just say close day for, a week. And it's so much easier to do that than to do custom hours.
Okay.
So, yep.
Oh,
so that's the way to.
Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. But like I said, these are the kind of questions that if you've got the question, I'm sure at least 5 other people do. So these are the kind of things that we run into. And I find people all the time where they've done custom hours in order to solve a problem, but they've created a bigger problem. This is a great way to kind of solve that. Okay. And then, the beauty of it is we can always delete those hours once the time has passed. Now we're at Labor Day and we want to get rid of those custom hours. You can just delete them and they're gone. And it's not a big deal, but at least it cleans up your list when you go back to try to do some new custom hours or the next year's weird things. And while we're on that, let's talk about, people are always saying, well, how can I be closed on holidays? Well, holidays are already part of list, on schedule, and holidays. And they are always in your system for the standard Memorial Day, Labor Day, those kind of things. But for things like Easter Monday or for Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, those are floating holidays. Or if you said, my doctor always takes his birthday off, we can add holidays and we can say Doc's birthday.
Oh.
All right. And we can say that birthday falls on whatever day it falls on and make that a holiday. Now, you have to do that every year, but the great thing is those holidays float. So we can make holidays anytime you want like that. And, Black Friday is always in the system that way. So if you're always closed, but like Easter Monday's not here, but you can certainly make Easter Monday a holiday. You can certainly make Good Friday a holiday. I don't think Good Friday's on here. Or Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Purim, whatever you want. You can always put those in the system by adding them as additional holidays. Right.
Okay. And so when you do that, you said we're going to have to go back and add it in every year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't do this as an ongoing, but you could, in theory, if Doc says I'm always going to be closed on my birthday, you could do that as a custom hour, but you're still going to have to do it yearly and put it in there you're going to have to do it under the yearly checkbox, and then every year it will show up. But at least it'll show up as a holiday. And what I do is the 19th. That's today. So we'll make tomorrow Doc's birthday. And you can see it's closed down, and up at the top it says closed for Doc's birthday.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So using the holidays to set up your holidays, and again, usually at the beginning of the year, when I worked at the front desk, we always got the school closing holidays. So I would take that calendar and I would just go through, and I want to be open when the schools are closed, but I would go through and I would put blocks at the top of my days to show where the school holidays are, and I would say, whatever school district is closed that day, because we always get lists of people. And here, actually, let me show you my secret trick for the school holidays. So I would say like, I'm going to put, so that's what I would put that as my description. And then I would put down here my wish list. So I would put my list of patients who ask me to call them if we get any openings on that day, since they're school teachers and they want to be closed. And as I save that, the great thing is I can see up there, it says Pendelco schools closed, but if I rest my mouse, I can see my list of people who've been waiting for appointments.
Okay.
So it's a great way to kind of put a note on the day that schools are closed, but also a list of people who are looking for appointments. And yeah, I know there's a quick fill available, but this is even a quicker fill.
Right.
Because if somebody says specifically that day, This is also great for that period of time, like Christmas break, where you have people who are like, oh, my kids are home, from college. If you have anything, can you call me? I put them right there on my school closure list.
Okay. So I'm going to change the subject a little bit here.
Oh.
For the quick fill, is there a way to like mass delete a certain period of time in the quick fill?
There isn't a user level way to do it. And that's my fancy way of saying, if you call the Patterson Technology Center, 800-475-5036, they will help you do that. And they can run a utility, and they actually go through utilities. Then they go to Database Navigator, and it says, don't do this unless you have assistance, which is the way you're going to have to do it. And what happens is they'll type in a little command down here, and they'll hit execute, and it'll actually go through and delete people for whatever period of time you tell them. Good and bad about that is it's going to get rid of everybody between that period of time. But it's a great way to do some purging. So, just be aware that they're going to make you do a backup. They're going to make sure that everything is preset. But yes, you can purge your quick fill for a period of time, or you can purge it entirely. I tend to just purge the entire thing and start from scratch.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you can't do it, but the PTC can help you do it. So it is an option.
Okay.
Yep. Definitely. If you want it done, give them a call. They'll walk you through the process, and they'll be very vigilant about talking you through it, so you know what the ramifications of doing it are.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. It is an option. Good question. Back to cool. And good. You fire away some questions. We got another 15 minutes. If you anything you could think of, let me know.
So I see that you have like the colors on the side here. How do I get that on my own schedule? Okay.
So you mean, let's look at it. Do you mean these colors?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are schedule templates, and my life before retirement was teaching offices how to better utilize the software, how to better utilize the things that they do in the office. So my big thing is scheduling. I mean, I schedule offices from 2 operatories to 24 operatories. And the way that I schedule every single office I've ever worked with is to have a template. Most consultants teach how to schedule template the doctor, like rocks and pebbles or meat and potatoes. So the doctor has 2 crowns per day, whatever. I think that's bogus. I schedule my hygiene department so that my doctor has time to do the procedures they want to do. So the way that this is set up is, this is SRP. This is perio maintenance. This is a new patient appointment. This is a recall appointment. And this is a shorter 30-minute recall appointment. And depending on where your lunch falls in, could work for you. But the beauty of this is at 8 o'clock, depending on the state you're in, there's an injection that's happening for SRP. And either the doctor's doing it or the hygienist is doing it. In my system, my doctor doesn't need to come back into this operatory until the exam happens right there. So this is 190 minutes of undisturbed dentistry every Tuesday morning. So there's absolutely no reason during this period of time where any of my doctors have to come into this operatory to work with this hygienist. And I schedule all of my hygienists doing the same thing at the same time. So from 8 a.m. until the exams that are needed at whatever time this is, 12:50, there's absolutely no doctor needed in any of these hygiene operatories. So I set that template up ahead of time because I know I schedule hygiene out 6 months from now. So the way I set up the template is under list, on schedule, and I do a template designer. So anybody who decides they want to set up a template in their schedule, you just hit new, and you decide how you want, if you want to do the meat and potatoes things, meat and potatoes. All right. Is there an E in there somewhere? Okay. Meat and potatoes. All right. And you can say, I need my doctor to do a crown prep at 8:30. So I hit 8:30, and then I choose what kind of thing I want. So that would be restorative medium for me, 60 minutes. All right. And then I need him to do another crown prep at 11 o'clock right before lunch. All right. So if that's, if that's what you guys want to do, medium for an hour. So now there's my meat And then I'm going to put some potatoes in here. I'm just making this up as I go along, guys. But so I'm going to do a little short 30-minute potato there and a little short potato there. So now I've set up my meat and potatoes consultant schedule, and it's in my schedule, in my templates as meat and potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go to my chairs. And like you said, you've got a couple chairs for your docs. And I can say, Dr. Yellen wants to use the meat and potato schedule. So I go over here and I say, Dr. Yellen on a Monday is going to be using the meat and potatoes schedule. And I apply that to her Monday. Now let's open up a Monday and see if it worked. I'm going to have to close my schedule and open it back up. And Monday for Dr. Yellen. And there's my meat and potatoes template. Yep.
Okay. Now, once you create that template, is that what you have to put in there, or
No.
can you put something
No.
else?
So see, this is what happens. If I double click at that time, it brings up my meat. So there's that restorative appointment.
Oh.
But imagine she's doing a root canal. Well, that's still meaty for me. So I can always change that to a root canal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's a suggestion and not a rule.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Or the vernacular of the day, it's a recommendation, but not a mandate. You know, it's a recommendation, but not a mandate. Yeah. So this is a recommendation, but the beauty of this is I can see what kinds of procedures should be done there, but we all know that it's not always going to be that way, but you can see how I've suggested that the day goes. The same thing here. I always suggest that, especially on a Monday, right after lunch, we have an emergency appointment, and I always typically suggest it as the first appointment of the day. But if we don't have an emergency, it doesn't mean I just don't schedule anybody there. I could maybe put a delivery there, or insert, or adjustment of a denture, or something like that. But it gives me an idea of I should hold that for emergencies, but I can certainly put somebody else in there. So
Okay.
recommendation, not mandate. That's going to be my new terms.
Okay.
Yeah, and doing those templates, you really, and again, this is where, I'm never going to be paperless. This is where I would tell you really need to sit down with a sheet of paper and really kind of lay out your entire month and how you want, or your entire week, how you want the data flow, how much information, and then do the due diligence of, if you're saying we want 10 new patients a month or 20 new patients a month or whatever that is, you've got to have the space for them. So you can see I have a new patient scheduled there and a new patient scheduled there. So I always have an opportunity for a new patient in the morning and a new patient in the afternoon, no matter what. So you kind of lay it out ahead of time. It's like Legos. If you sit there and you lay out how you want the Lego bricks to be, you can build the Taj Mahal, but you kind of have to have a plan ahead of time. You can't just start stacking bricks. You kind of have to have a layout for how you want it done. Do your due diligence, know how many blocks you need for those things, and then you can start to lay things out. How many kids are going to need to come in the afternoons of the appointments. If you lay that all out, you're pretty good.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
And while we're on this, let's just, so everybody knows, good activity for everybody to do. If you go to activities, practice management, and money finder, this is the best tool in the whole world to be able to understand your patient base. If I say, show me everybody who has a completed D0120, and I'm going to leave this for everything, or they have a completed D0150, or they have a completed D0180, which is a code I don't use, but I'm just telling everybody. So if you run this report, you can see how many people, and I would do it within the last 12 months, how many people, and it's 49 people, in the last 12 months had an exam. So you can see how many people came through the office and had an exam. Now backtrack and delete this, and say, show me how many people in that same period of time, were kids, had a child prophy. Do that number. So I have 17 out of 49 people. That tells me a percentage of children that I have in the practice. Now I can do the same report, do that for adults. That's how many adult prophies I do. And then I can do the same number for, and then the difference between the adults and the kids would give you your perio frequency. So now you can tell the entire makeup of your practice, how many kids, how many adults, how many perio patients. And now you can build a schedule based around that to say, how many perio maintenance appointments do I need? How many child prophy appointments do I need? How many? And you can kind of work backwards from that. Especially good if you're trying to put a perio program into place, you can kind of see where your stats fall. And that just tells you based on the way you're charging out, not on diagnostic information, but based on the way that you're charging stuff out, how many of these kinds of appointments do you actually need? So it's a good tool.
It is. Cool. Thank you.
Anytime. What else can you think of?
So I'm really jumping the ship here, but smart docs.
Okay.
Well, I was on your webinar on Friday, by the way. It was amazing.
Awesome.
And in Smart, you mentioned that you have like your own template for treatment presentation.
Yes.
How do we save a template into the Smart Docs so that we can just merge like the patient information? Yep.
You're going to have to first of all, you're going to have the correct version of Microsoft Word. So not Office 365, but like I have Office 2016 on my computer. And then you can actually merge a Word document into SmartDoc. So you can open up the Word document. I know mine is not set up, so I know if I try to do it right now, it's going to crash. But if you open up SmartDoc, you should have documents, literally Word documents. So if you build the treatment plan form that I put into the Facebook group, if you take that, make that as a Word document, then you'll be able to use the same merge fields and merge information into that Word document. But you can't do it with Office 365, which a lot of people have. I have Office 365 on my computer too, but I also have Office 2016 just because I have to have both of them. But there is a way, and I think there's a couple how-tos in the Facebook group about how to merge Word documents into SmartDoc. Again, I'm not a huge user of it because I would still have my paper form that I create outside of Eaglesoft. I have my patients sign it either through creating a document in Revenue Well Forms, or I'm going to do it on paper. I'm still a paper person. I just like having the way, and again, COVID's going to change some things, but I like having to be able to present somebody something in a leather folder that I actually hand to a patient. I think, especially if I'm doing a $50,000 treatment plan, I think it looks so much better than some printout from some computer. I just love the way that it presents differently, but that's just the Disney in me, it changes the way that I see things. But yeah, you can do it through a Word document into SmartDoc. But like I said, if I do it right now, it's going to crash my computer.
Oh, no, don't worry about it.
Yep. And then, like I said, the beauty of it is once you get it in there, and the way, when I have something scanned into my system, it's not scanned into SmartDoc, it's scanned into imaging. So if I click on a tooth, I have my imaging turned off, I can see that treatment plan signed by the patient, any treatment consents, all that kind of stuff. I see that attached to my tooth, and I can see everything about that patient right there.
But the imaging system doesn't take a PDF, so I would have to scan it in as a JPEG.
As a JPEG, right? And again, that's why I don't use, as a kind of rule in the way that I set things up, I don't use SmartDoc because it doesn't make my doctors smart. It makes them go looking for things in a drawer full of documents. And to me, it's so much easier for my doc to look here and go, wait, did Passion ever get the treatment consult done with this patient? Did they ever sign off on? Oh, there it is right there, and view it. And now I've got it. So, and it's got my logo on it. It's got everything on there. So that's the way I want my documents, instead of having my doctor go, okay, let me go over here. And let's go to Smart. Oh, where's SmartDoc? SmartDoc is over. Oh, okay. And then finally pull up SmartDoc. And then based on how somebody named a folder, because this is treatment plan, or which one, where is the one that we're looking for? It's just, this is just, to me, a junk drawer. And it just, to me, it's frustrating. So I'd rather have it so that I could just click on my tooth and go right to it. But that's crazy old me.
Okay. Now, in the tooth chart there, when you just right click and hit view, that was just for the signed document. Can you do that for the images too? And it's just going to show just the image instead of taking you to the whole imaging? Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
It does do that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So any image that's here, if you right click, you can go to the full view, or you can actually open up imaging, but that takes you to everything. But if you just want to see the one image, and that's why I tell my offices, the beauty of this is, I can go here and I can look at any image that I have, or I can click on the tooth and look at specifically that image. So there's my pre-D for this tooth. And it's very specific to the tooth I'm looking at, but if I unclick, I can look at everything.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yep. And this is also a good way too. I keep examples, because I don't want to have, like, if I said, Passion, what you're having done is something similar to another patient that I had. Let me show you what her x-ray looked like. If I were opening up Sally's x-ray chair side with you, that's a HIPAA issue. Right. So I actually save images like in a folder with no name or anything like that, and go example of abscessed tooth, or example of loose implant or something like that. And then I can go in and go, let me just show you this. This is kind of what happened like in your tooth. There was a fracture here, and that's kind of why you're, and I have my examples that I keep in a folder, and I have a patient in the system just called, test patient or example patient. So I can go here and I can show people something without having to go into somebody else's chart. So I keep samples of all kinds of weird stuff.
Okay. That's a good idea though.
Yep. I think I forget where I put it, but yeah, I keep kind of examples in everybody's chart so I can get back to it.
Okay.
Yep. Cool.
All right.
Well, I don't want to keep you forever, and I have another call coming in a little while, but I appreciate you hanging out with me, and
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, it really did help a lot. I have a little bit more to do before we fully reopen, so this is awesome.
Well, cool, and good luck with your reopening, and if there's anything you need, you know how to get in touch with me. Definitely. Thank you so much. Tell everybody there I said hello, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for everything. All right. Thank you. All right. Bye. Bye.